Alright, in this video I'm going to make the sports logo as you saw in the thumbnail. Before I begin, I will give a disclaimer that this is going to be a little bit of a longer video, as you can see, but I will leave some timestamps in the video so you can navigate to the part you're interested in, and we'll begin. So I'll go ahead, go to File and Document Properties, and I'll click on this border, remove the border, go to Page, and I'll set this value to 45. And I'll also set this value to 45. And my document is ready. I'll begin by making the text first. So I'll press T, or I guess you can click this button. I'll press T on the keyboard, and I will write the word Toronto. I'll go ahead and change the color to black. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and go to path. With that object selected, I'll go to path and I'll go to object to path. And then I'll go to path, break apart. And now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and click on this O. And then I'll shift click on this R. I'll shift click on this O. And I'll shift click right here. And I'll send all of these to the bottom like that. Then I'll click in the middle of this letter to select that middle object, and I'll go ahead, I'll shift click the O, and I will go to path and difference, and I'll repeat that for the other letters as well. Okay, so that is that part done. What I'll do now is I'll go ahead and space these properly. These letters are not quite properly spaced. As you can see, the spacing here versus here it just doesn't look very coherent. So I'm going to go ahead and manually but actually what I'll do is I'll select all of it. I'll select the entire word, and I'll go ahead and go to the Align and Distribute menu right here. If you don't have it, you can go to Object, Align and Distribute, and go ahead and click on this button, Even Horizontal Gaps. And so this will give you a little bit of that, but I just want to make one more change to it and select all three of these first letters, and I'll just nudge them to the left like that. And that's pretty good. Maybe a bit more, maybe one more step, and that's it. I'll select over everything. I'll go to path and union, and once you're done with that selected, I want to go to path, and I want to open the path effects menu with that button, and then I'll go ahead and I'll open this drop down menu with that button, and I'll look for perspective / envelope. So but I'm interested in perspective, and with this drop down you want to select perspective right here, and then you want to select this option where it says mirror movements in the vertical axis. Select that, and then press N on the keyboard to get the nodes tool. And as you can see, we have a lot of nodes, but we have these 4 corner nodes, these diamond shaped corner nodes. I'm going to select one of these. I'm going to select one of these bottom nodes, this one right here, and I'm just going to pull it like that to give it a little bit of perspective. And about there should be good. And once you've done that, I think that's pretty good. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and go to, with that selected, you can go to path and object to path, and we'll get rid of that path effect, because this is again, and the path effect is now gone. We can edit this object as however we want now, using the nodes and whatnot. So once you've done that, I want to go ahead and select that object. I want to press Ctrl D on the keyboard to duplicate it. I will send that object to the back, and I will give it a different color. Let's say this color. And I will just use the keyboard to bring this down like that. About there should be good, maybe a little bit more than that. And then I want to select this object and I want to scale it down by holding Control and Shift on the keyboard. I want to scale it down to maybe that much. And then I want to select this object. I'm going to shift click this yellow object. I want to go to extensions, generate from path, and extrude between two paths. And then from this drop down menu, you want to select polygons. And you want to select live preview to see if it actually gives you the right result. Sometimes this will actually not work if you're using curvy fonts, but for straight edged fonts this works very well and it looks pretty good. So I'll just go ahead and click apply and I'll close that out. Once you've done that, I will click on this object that we made and I'll go ahead and press Ctrl Shift and G on the keyboard to ungroup that. I will go to path and union. That will unionize that object, and then I'll go ahead and go to the fill and stroke menu. I'll click on stroke paint and I will remove that with that button. I'll remove the stroke with that button and I'll go to fill and I will make this value 100 and I will change its color. I'll give it a different color. I'll give it that color, let's say. So that's pretty good. What we want to do next is I will select all of these objects, everything, and I will duplicate it, and then I go to path, union, and I will send this object to the back, and I will go ahead and get back to the path effects menu, and I will go ahead and open this drop down menu and I will look for offset right here. And from this drop down menu you want to select miter. Once you do that, you want to just press this plus button to give it an offset. And I will just give it, I'll keep increasing this value just to give it a little bit of an offset. I will change the color to maybe green. Maybe I'll change it to blue. And I will I think that is pretty good. Maybe a little bit more. A bit more. I want to get rid of this. I want to get rid of this circle as well. So if it's too much, we'll reduce it. But I think that's fine. I think that is pretty good. I want to click on this object and I want to change its color. I will go ahead and I will give it that color right there. And that's pretty good. And now I want to select this black object and I want to give it a red color like that. So that is pretty much almost good. Just want to make one last thing we have to do here is I will select this outermost object, this bottom object, this offset that we created, and I will make it white for now. And then I want to zoom in here. I want to zoom in right here and I want to press B on the keyboard to get the Bezier pen. And I'm just going to make some detail here. I'm going to give this text a little bit of detail. I'll snap to this node. If you want to turn snapping on, you can do so by clicking this button. I want to snap to this node. I want to click right there. I want to click right there. I want to click right there and right there to form these shapes, these rectangular shapes to give it some more detail and a bit more 3D effect as well. And I'll just repeat that for all of them. Okay, once you're done with that, I want to select all of these objects, all of these small objects we created, and I will go to path, union, and I will give it a gray fill color. Maybe, I guess that is good. And I'll select the white object again, and I will press D on the keyboard to get the dropper tool, and I will give it that color. And that is pretty much the text object done. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and select everything, and I'll press Ctrl G on the keyboard to group it. And now we are done with this. We can just keep this away for now. And we'll move on to the next object. I'll press T on the keyboard to get the text tool, and I'll write the word basketball. By the way, the font I used for this object is called Night. It's called Night Warrior. You can easily download this. I think it's free. But I'm going to change the font for this. I'm going to give it this font. This is called, the name of this font is American Captain, and the name of this one is Night Warrior. So you can easily, I think you can download them. They're free fonts, I think. You can easily get them. Okay, once I'm done with that, I want to go ahead and make a rectangle like that. I will change its color, and I will send that to the bottom like that. And next I want to go ahead and select the rectangle tool again, and I will make another rectangle, like a small rectangle like that. Then I will click on this object, and I will give it, I'll change the height to that, and I'll click on this, and I will give this the same height, so 295 for this one as well. And so I'm done with that. I want to go ahead and bring this down to like somewhere there. Maybe make it a little bit wider. I'll make it a little bit wider like that. And I'll press Ctrl D on the keyboard to duplicate it, and I'll bring it to this side. And I want to make this a bit smaller. Let's make it smaller like that. I want to click on the text tool, and I want to make that smaller as well. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. So that's looking pretty good. I want to reduce the height a little bit. It's too tall. And I'll do the same for these smaller objects as well. Click on this object, and I'll go ahead and copy this height by pressing Ctrl C on the keyboard. Click on this. I'll shift click on that. Actually, no, I'll click on this object, and I will paste that height with Ctrl V. And then I'll click on this, and I will paste it with Ctrl V to give it the same height as this object. Then I'll bring this object right here. I'll bring that somewhere here. I'll click on this one, and I'll click on this one. I will go to the Align and Distribute menu, and I will center them on the horizontal axis. And then I'll go ahead and select both of them, and I'll press Ctrl G on the keyboard to group them. I'll shift click on this object. I will go ahead and center them on the vertical axis like that. And I will click on this object and just move it a little bit higher, somewhere there. I want to click on this object now, and I want to duplicate that. And I will duplicate it twice. I will select everything. I will go to Path, Object to Path. And then I will select this object. I will shift click this object. I will go to Path and Difference. And then I will select this object. I will shift click this object. I will go to Path and Difference. Okay, once I've done that, I want to adjust the positioning of these two objects. So I'll click on this object, and I will move it somewhere there, and I will move it down. And then I shift click on this object. I'll go ahead and center these on the horizontal axis. And I will center and group them together with Ctrl G, and shift click this object, and I will center them on the vertical axis. Now I just want to move them I'll click away. I click on this object and I just want to move them vertically, to lower them vertically. And I will bring them somewhere there is good. That's pretty good. What I'll do now is I will press B on the keyboard to get the Bezier pen. I'll click right here. I'll click right there, right here, and right there. That will give me that object. I will shift click on this object. Both of them selected. I will go to path, difference. We have to first ungroup this object. So I'll go ahead and press Ctrl, Shift, and G to ungroup them. And click on this object. Shift click on that object. Path, difference. And I'll do the same thing here. Press B, get the Bezier pen, make that shape. And I will shift click on this object, path, and difference. Okay, it looks pretty nice. I'm going to go ahead and click on the polygons tool right here. And I'm going to select, where it says corners, I'm going to select 3. I'm going to make this tab, rounded type 0, and I'm going to make the randomized type also 0. And I'm going to hold Ctrl and Shift on the keyboard, and I'm going to make a small triangle like that. And then I want to just make this triangle really flat with these handles like that. I want to change its color to something different. And I will hold Ctrl and rotate this by 90 degrees. I'll take this object and I will bring it right here. I will press Ctrl D to duplicate that. And I will pick that up and I will invert it on the, flip it on the horizontal axis with that button. And I will place that there. Now I'll go ahead and shift click this object, select both of them, center them on the horizontal axis with that button, and then group them with Ctrl G, shift click this object and center them on the vertical axis like that. And then I'll go ahead and select that. I'll go ahead and ungroup them. And I'll click this object. I'll go ahead and shift click this object with path and difference and do the same thing for this one. And that is pretty good. That looks pretty nice. So what I'll do lastly, I'll click on this text object. I'll shift click on this object and just center it on both the vertical and the horizontal axis. And I'll click the text object. I'll shift click this object again, and I'll go ahead, do a path and difference, and that will give me that object. I'll select everything now, and I'll go ahead and do a path union, and we're pretty much done with that object as well. And I'll just take that object and I'll place it right here. We don't need this for now, so I'll just go ahead and I'll get to the last part of this tutorial, which is going to be the actual basketball. So I'll make a perfectly round circle by holding Ctrl and Shift on the keyboard. And once I've done that, I want to just use this handle to make this a little bit flatter. Not flat. I just want to make this a bit more oval with that handle. I just go ahead and nudge it a little bit like that. Maybe a little bit more. And that's pretty good. And I'll give this a white fill color. I'll give this circle a white fill color with that button, and then I will actually give it some detail. I'll go ahead and press B on the keyboard to get the Bezier pen, and I'll click right here, and I'll go ahead and I'll click right outside of the circle somewhere there, and I'll make a shape like that. This won't make sense right now, but once it's done, it's going to look I'll give it a black stroke color and I'll remove its fill color. And I'll press N on the keyboard to get the nodes tool. I'll click on this node and I'll delete it. And I will adjust this a little bit to give it a bit more of a natural shape. I will go ahead and duplicate this object and I will flip it horizontally with that object, with that button. And I'll pick it up. I will bring that object right there. I will click on this one and I will shift click this one. With them both selected, I will align them on the horizontal axis with that button. And then I will press Ctrl G to group them and I will shift click the white object and I will center them on the vertical axis. And then I press B to get the Bezier pen and I'll click right there and I will make a straight line by holding Ctrl, and I will click right there and I'll press the right mouse button and that will give me that straight line. And now I just want to make one last line. I'll click right there and then I'll click right there and I want to make a line like that. And once I'm done with that, the thickness of these lines is pretty good, but if you want to change them, and you might have to change them if they're too thick, you can just go ahead to the Align and Distribute menu, come over to the Stroke Style tab and just make them thicker like that. But we don't want to do that, so I'll just go ahead and press Ctrl Z to undo that. I'll go ahead and select all of these objects and I'll go to Path, Stroke to Path, and Path Union, and then I'll shift click the white object and go ahead and do a path and difference. And that will give me our basketball. And one more thing I want to do, actually, I missed something. I'll go ahead and press Ctrl Z on the keyboard and click on this object and I will duplicate that and I will give that whatever color and I'll send that to the bottom. And I will click on this object, shift click on this white object, I'll do a path difference. And that will give me that object. I will select that purple object and I will press D to get the dropper tool and I will give it that blue color like that. And I will go ahead and select both of these. I'll press Ctrl G on the keyboard to group them together. And now we can just we can begin to put everything together to form the logo. So I'll just go ahead and get this object. I'll click on this object and I'll scale it down by holding Ctrl and Shift. While holding Ctrl and Shift, I'll scale it down and I'll take the basketball and I will scale that down a little bit as well. Place that right there. I'll send that to the bottom and I'll make it a little bit bigger. I'll make it that size. I'll go ahead and click on it again. I'll ungroup it with Ctrl, Shift and G. I'll select the white object and I'll press D on the keyboard to get the dropper tool and I will give it that red color. And once I've done that, I will do the same for this. When I go and select the object, I'll press D to get the dropper tool and I will also give that red color. And one last thing I want to do is I'll move this a little bit higher and place it there. Then I'll go ahead and click on and get the polygon tool and I'll make another triangle by holding Ctrl and Shift. I'll make a perfectly symmetrical triangle and I will remove its stroke by shift clicking this cross and I will flip it on the on the vertical axis with that button. I will place that object somewhere there, and I will send that to the bottom, and I will go ahead and press D on the keyboard to get the dropper tool, and I will give it that color. And now I just have to adjust these things a little bit. I'll go ahead and make the triangle a little bit bigger. I think that size is quite good. And I'll make it a little bit. I'll use this handle to change the shape a little bit, make it. Okay, now I'll center all of these objects on the triangle. So I'll click on this object, and I also want to select that. I'll do that again. I'll click at this object, and I want to select that bottom circle as well. And I'll put them with Ctrl G, and I'll shift click the triangle, and I'll go to the align and distribute menu, and I will center them on the vertical axis like that. And I'll do the same for the text object, center that on the vertical axis, and I will click on this object and I will center that on the vertical axis. And that is almost done. I just want to make one last final finishing just want to give it one last final finishing touch. I will click on this object and I will make it a little bit smaller like that. It's pretty good. And once I'm done with that, I want to select everything, and I'll hold Ctrl and Shift on the keyboard, and I'll press G many times to just ungroup everything. And then I'll press Ctrl D to duplicate it, and I'll go to Path Union. That will give me that object. I will send that to the bottom, and I will give it white fill color. And then I'll come over to the Path Effects menu, and I'll select the path effect called Offset, and we will do the same thing and just give it an offset. So I'll just go ahead and press this +I button, and we'll give it an offset like that. And about that much is pretty good. Maybe you can increase it a little bit. Maybe a bit more. And I think that is very good. I'll go ahead and give that. I'll go ahead, click away, and I'll click on this white object again. I'll press D on the keyboard to get the dropper tool, and I'll click right there to give it that color. And that's it. That's pretty much the end of the video. That is how you make that sports logo. Thank you for watching.